The day long awaited for. We are getting ready to put all the little pieces and parts back together on the passenger side. I have my trusty and loyal manservant here, James, our oldest grandson. He's the muscle behind this. Right now we're collapsing the spring. We're going to get that done, put it to the side, and then just throw everything up, and that'll be the last thing that goes in, or next to the last. We'll get everything torqued down, we'll be done, right?
That's the plan.
That's the... He loves coming over here doing this. But everything's clean. Look at that. He doesn't even get dirt on his hands. Well, so far so good. We got the coil spring back in. He's getting ready to tighten up the ball joint nuts. And then we'll go ahead and torque the strut rod. And that's going to be just about it. He's doing a good job. Okay, time for a change of pace. That front end work, boy, I'll tell you what, getting up and down, I can just about kill a guy like me, my age. Alright, what I'm going to do is take the old motor tool. We're going to cut these welds loose and get these old bolts out of here. John writes, my T-Bird was built on 17 February 1965 at the Wixom, Michigan assembly plant as a special order by a dealer in San Jose, California. It's a two-door Landau painted metallic dark ivy green with a black vinyl interior. Thus far, she's completed 89,835 miles of driving in the good old US of A. He says it was love at first sight. The body is in excellent condition and the interior is pristine, including the seats and the headliner. To date, I haven't given her a name. The car was passed from grandfather to son and has been garaged for the last 20 years in the Phoenix, Arizona area. The son was more of a Chevy than Ford guy, so he placed her for sale in late September 2019. My daughter, knowing my interest in a 57 Thunderbird, thought I might be interested in this one. I was. So she arrived in the Piedmont area in mid-October of 2019. The engine was frozen and the son had done some cosmetic work on the car. The fan shield, shock tower, fender braces, and the shock caps had been chromed. He said I need to start at the front end of the car, specifically the engine. The carb needs to be rebuilt and the engine needs to be freed up, and after running before embarking on rebuilding the rest of the car. After getting the engine running, he says I'll take a quick drive into town and cruise through McDonald's with Linda. I don't know who Linda is, either his daughter or his wife. Then back home to review your videos and really start restoring the car. He said that's my story and I'm sticking to it. He also put a little footnote here. He said I plagiarized all your videos by entering all the items you fixed and the supplier information in a Word file for easy retrieval when I start rebuilding those parts of my car. No one, and I repeat, no one has taken the time to fix each and every part the correct way and then share the how-to information. Do you see that? And that? And that? I assure you, that is not grape juice. To make a long story shorter, I was down to my last bolt on this bracket here, cutting through the weld with the motor tool. Oh, unbelievable. And I was cutting it, like this, and cutting it through, back and forth, and it jumped out of there. And it caught on something. I don't know what it was, but I was within 5 seconds of finishing the job, and I had my hand, you know, down here hanging onto it like so. And as you can see, there's a band-aid right here. And that thing jumped out of, it just went, boom, and just jumped out just so fast I couldn't believe it. And it nailed me right in the back of my hand here where I was hanging on to this. And 2 stitches and a tetanus shot later, well, here we are, back on the bench, folks. So now I'll go ahead and knock off that rust, clean this up, and get a bunch of paint off one of these ears, maybe 2, I'm not sure which. We'll give it another paint job when we're all done. And I'll slip this bolt through here like so, perfect fit. And then I shall, if everything goes all right, I shall weld this right here in a little, you know, a couple of spot welds. Nothing heavy. I'm not welding the Brooklyn Bridge here. I just want to go ahead and run a couple of spots here and here, maybe 3 altogether, probably just 2. This morning I put in my last order. Well, I think it's my last order of parts I need to finish up the front end. I needed to order the seal for the rotor, you know, the grease seals, and I ordered the caliper that I did for the passenger side, and I ordered the bushings for the sway bar. Incidentally, that sway bar is awful skinny for such a large car. Later on I'll probably get the heavy duty one. And I also ordered a pre-bent gas line that goes from the fuel pump up along the front of the engine and attaches into the carburetor. So many bends and twists and turns there. I just didn't want to mess with it. It wasn't that expensive. I just ordered one that was pre-bent. It's larger around than a brake line anyway, and it would have been a mess and a hassle to mess with. And I also ordered some of those plastic things. They're spark plug wire separators. They were real cheap. I got a whole set for like $5, $6. And you know, they mount on top of the valve cover gasket. I mean the valve cover. And then there's a couple that, you know, further on that separate the wires and keep the spark plug wires separated. But one thing I wanted to point out, this grease seal that goes on the back of these rotors, when you go to the, especially the Max Thunderbird website to order them, they show you 2 different kinds. And you think, well, one's just a better quality than the other. That may be the case, but it's not really what you need to look at. You need to look at the size. Now, both of those seals are 1 15/16 inches in diameter on the internal, inside diameter. However, the outside diameter is different. One is 2.5 inches from here to here, and the other is 2 3/4 inches from here to here. So I had to come out and measure mine, and sure enough, it turns out that mine, my seals are 2 3/4. So keep that in mind if you have to order seals. Make sure you get the right one. Let me see, 2 3/4. There it is right there, 2 3/4 outside diameter, if I can get it right. About like that. There we go, 2 3/4 outside diameter as opposed to 2.5. Okay, so I think the 2.5 might be for the drum. The drum, if you have non-disc brakes on the front of your car, I don't know. And I think it was for 64, 65, and 66 Thunderbirds, I believe. So the 2.5 I think is for drum, but don't take my word for that. Just know that for the disc brakes, 2 3/4. It is time to clean up the bearings in there one more time with a little bit of shaky shake. Hopefully when I get all done, just shaking, they'll all be nice and clean. I won't have to worry about brushing them and cleaning them, but chances are that's not going to happen. So we'll just sit it back on the shelf, and probably in the next video we'll go ahead and open this up and see how well it did. It is the next day, and it is time to get these tie rod ends, inner and outer, up and get them installed, and get the idler arm nut, that nut right there, torqued down between 37 and 47 foot-pounds. And you can see we have the idler arm bracket in, and all we have to do, and along with the drag link that goes to the other side of the car. The other side of the car, where the drag link hooks to the pitman arm, that's also 37 to 47 foot-pounds. On the other side is a 3/4 inch nut. Over here on this side, this larger nut, we have an issue, unfortunately. The issue is that I need a 1 1/8 inch socket in order to put on the torque wrench to torque this nut down, and all I have is a 1 1/16 inch. I mean, how often do I need a 1 1/8 inch socket? I can't remember the last time I needed one of those, if ever. Well, since I don't have one and I'm not about to run downtown to buy it for a one-time use, what do? Well, I do have a set of metrics. This is number 30. That's the largest one. No, I have larger, but this one came in a set. And I don't know, you know. You put that baby down in there, it flops around a little bit. It's pretty tight, but it's still too loose for me. Okay, so what do? The next smaller size I think is a 28. That's too small. This one's too big. Well, we can still go ahead and use it, and I'll tell you how. Once again, we have to do a little creative thinking here, and we take a piece of flat metal. I had this was a thing that came across, had a loop on top for holding pipes to walls and stuff, you know. I flattened it out. What I'm going to do is make a spacer out of it. I'm going to cut it off right there where that pencil line is, and then I'm going to stick it down in here like so, and that prevents it from falling out. It'll take up the space. This will be cut off. I can't have anything over the lip of this wrench because of this socket, because it'll be torqued between the socket and the whatever I'm torquing the nut down against. We don't want that. So this thing here, I can put it on down in, and I can bring the nut all the way up like so, and then go ahead and torque it on down. So let me go ahead and cut it off. It's just a spacer to take up the loose slack that's in there. This time I'll be cutting it with the same cutting wheel and rotary tool, and I'm going to use a vice grips to hold it instead of my hand, and I'm going to wear a glove to protect my stitched up hand because I don't want to dump any more blood for the team. Well, there it is, all ready to go. Let's get out there and torque that baby on the idler arm. One other thing, in order to hold the nut all the way up to the top, you might want to stuff something down in here. I just used some, I ripped up a piece of paper towel, stuffed them down in there until the nut was even with the top here. Now, you can't do this kind of trick with all torques. I'm only torquing 37 to 47 foot-pounds, so that shouldn't be a problem. If you're torquing up around the 100 foot-pound range and beyond, go out and get the right size socket. Well, that's about it, guys. The tie rod ends on both sides are in. The idler arm's been torqued down. The pitman arm has been tightened up. I couldn't get the torque wrench up in there, but we gave her a good tight. It's only 37 to 47 foot-pounds, the pitman arm to the drag link I'm talking about. So that's nice and tight. They all got brand new cotter pins in, and I think we can go ahead and knock it off here. I noticed that the view count's been going down. I guess my videos have been a little bit too long, so I'll cut them down in length from now on. It's hard to find the happy medium there. Some people want longer videos. Most people want shorter, I guess. That's what it seems to be. So we'll go ahead and cut it off here. Next time we'll go ahead and try to weld those bolts on that bracket, and we will get the sway bar up. I want to clean the area where the sway bar is going to go. A little bit of rust up in there. I've got to get that taken care of before I do that. So we'll go ahead and close out the video with this. George says, greetings from Germany in Lower Bavaria. I'm sending you some pictures of my 1965 Special Landau Thunderbird in Wimbledon white. I'm 58 years old and have been restoring it for almost 2 years, thanks to your YouTube channel, which has been helping me a lot. My T-Bird obviously also has a special reference to Arkansas, as you can see in the pictures. On April 5th, 1965, the car was delivered to the Ford dealer Walter Burge, B-U-E-R-G-E, in Santa Monica, California. George says the dealer still exists, by the way. He said, I bought it in 2018 from a trader in Bavaria. This month I'm fighting with the front and rear brakes. Best greetings and keep everyone healthy, George. Same to you, my friend, and thanks for bringing this to my personal attention. as usual, there's one more thing. No one contacted me, said they had one of these for the driver's side. It's the rubber brake line hose bracket that holds it to the body of the car. But that's no problem. If you don't have it, you don't have it. What we're going to do, you can't buy one of these anywhere. I've tried. I've looked and looked and looked and looked. They're just not available. And if they did, they probably want more than they're worth. So I think what we're going to do is a couple of videos from now, we'll make our own. So that ought to be fun and interesting. It may not look exactly like this one, but I'll bet it'll be fairly close. I've kind of got it in my mind. It's gelling around on how we're going to do it. Anyway, until next time, this is John.